right, let's go over how to create a clone yourself project using PhotoPea. First, you're going to need to take your picture. So here's an example of a finished picture. I love this one. It's one of my favorites. This student decided to dress into different costumes, so this took a little while to take this picture. And of course, he told me that it was really complicated because he had to go set up all the chairs in the proper places first so that they would be in the right spots. And then he was trying to be careful not to move the chairs as he took the picture. So what you're going to do is have someone take your picture, and they need to be still, like hold the camera still. Obviously, it's going to move a little bit when they touch it, but they really need to try to hold the camera still, like a human tripod. They don't need to be turning, any of that. The only thing that moves is you, the person having your picture taken. You're going to move usually from like left to right or from back to front and take those pictures that way, okay? Then, once you get them on your computer or your Chromebook into a folder, then you're ready to get started. So this is what this one would look like when it's finished. But what you're going to do is open up first the background image. So which of your pictures is farthest back? And I do have an overlap in this one. There's a girl standing in front of this girl a little bit. Her arm gets in the way. So this will be my background layer. So open your background layer. And then open and place into this one all the rest of the images. So you don't need to open them all. Just open the background, then File, Open and Place, and then go grab the rest of them. So I already have this one in there, but I need this one and the rest. Okay. So once we do File, Open and Place, they're all going to have their own layers. You can just go ahead and hit your check mark. And then we need to go ahead and resize this because it's probably a little bit big. Pictures on your phones or digital cameras are huge. So let's go to Image and then Image Size. And I would say about 1200 pixels will be fine on that longest side. And we'll hit OK. All right. And then I'll press Control-0 once it finishes resizing. And the resizing is especially important on a Chromebook because your Chromebook is going to struggle with bigger pictures. Okay. So now we've got everything in here together, but they're not lined up. See how the table is moving around every layer? It's in a different place. In Photoshop, Photoshop has an automate where we don't even have to open the background image. We just go in and say, here's all the images, line them up. But in here, we have to kind of do it the old-fashioned way. So select all of the images, just hold Shift, click the top layer, and then keep holding Shift and click the bottom layer, and they all are selected. Go to Edit, and then Auto Align. Give it a second. As I say, the Photoshop elves come out and work their magic, and it will take a minute, so don't freak out while you wait. And then while it's doing that, it's examining all of the layers. And so now that if we look here, if I look at them individually, you can see some of the layers now have transparency around them because it's like it took the stack and it just turned them all ever so which way in order to line them up so that that table now stays in the same place. It uses the table as it uses whatever it sees as the main part of the picture, and it tries to line up. Now, the wind blows, so my tree is a little bit different, and my lighting is a tad bit different in some of these, but probably not enough to notice. So be very careful when you take your pictures. You really don't want to use a flash, because if you're close to the camera, you would be really lit up, and the background would be super dark. So try to make sure your images are pretty flat when it comes to lighting. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to start on the bottom and work your way up. So I know I need to have the picture of the person who's right in front of her, right here, to deal with first. So let me click off of here. I've got all these layers selected. So I'm going to move that image. So I've got the bottom image, which you're not going to do anything to the background. And then the one above it is the one I'm going to mess with. Now, the rest of these will be easy. This is the only one that's time consuming, and that's because there's an overlap. And you can see here there's going to be an overlap on the corner of the table. Okay? So for the rest of the images where there's no overlap, we don't have to do this. But if you have images that are overlapped, you're going to do this process. So take a selection tool of your choice, and you want a good tight selection where you know there's overlap. Now the cool thing is, after you select it, you can turn the eyeball off and see how close it is. So I'm going to take, you might take your quick selection. Now remember, if you use quick selection on a Chromebook, on here, it's going to tell you have to rasterize the layer first. So you may or may not want to. I'm going to hit OK and let it rasterize. Okay, so we've got our quick selection there, but see, it's kind of going all over the place. So it may not be the best solution here. I could take my lasso, or just any selection tool that you want. And you're going to go around your person. Now, the thing is, it's not going to matter if it doesn't overlap. So areas that don't overlap are not going to matter at all. Now I need to get rid of these little parts here that don't go. So I'm going to just fix those a little bit at a time. Like I say, if you don't have a whole lot of overlap, this part is the only really time-consuming part, and you won't have to do a lot of it if you don't have overlapping images. And I zoom up pretty close on the pixel level here to do this. Now let me just turn the eyeball off. So see, the only part that overlaps is right there. So I really don't have to worry about all the rest of this. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to leave it alone for now, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so once you know you've got the overlap area handled, click and add a layer mask. That's going to hide all the rest of it. Now my head's stuck in the trees, but that's okay because now that I've got the overlap handled and it looks good, all I have to do is use, ready for this, just a soft paintbrush and paint this person in over here. Now you do want to disable your mask for a second just to look and see, like, is there a shadow down here? Are there feet down here? I don't think that we have either of those to deal with here, so I don't have to worry about that bottom part. All I've got to do is paint me in. So I'm going to take a white, big, soft brush, and I'm just going to paint in white on the layer mask and bring myself in over here. Now notice the tree moved a little bit between these two, so I'm going to have to decide how far I want to paint over here. But that's pretty much it. Now there was a little bit, my brush was a little big here and I got into this a bit. So I'm just going to flip it back, use a smaller brush here and paint out where I got into my other person a little bit. Okay, so on that edge, you know, I need to keep my edge hard. So you may have to go back in there and use a hard brush just to make sure that those edges are not a problem. But like I said, this is the only layer I'm going to have to do that with because the rest of the layers don't have an overlap. So I don't have anything to be concerned with. All right, let's disable the mask. Yep, looks good. Not missing any parts of me. The other thing that you can do is to turn off the background for a minute and then look and make sure that your person is all there. Because like I do see that there is some of this here that is not painted in. So I could take my hard paintbrush and just fix that little area there. Okay, looks good. All right, that's the hard one. The rest of these, they're going to happen super fast. Watch this. Okay, so if there is no overlap, here's all you have to do. Click the layer. Always click the layer before you turn the eyeball on because for whatever reason, I'm always clicked on the wrong layer. Okay, so I'm going to turn the eyeball on, go over here. Now, this time, let's add the layer mask. So it's just a white layer mask, okay? And now this seems weird, but do it. Okay, then take a black soft paintbrush, okay? And you're going to paint out about as big as my head or so. And you're going to paint out the part. We're going to make her disappear. Now, be careful. You need to look for shadows. So, like, look at the picture carefully because there might be shadows under her. And we want to make sure that as we paint her out, we also paint out the shadows. You also want to be careful because sometimes, like, the table's probably not going to line up exactly perfect. So I want to be real careful about not scooting over any farther than I have to. Okay, I got under there all the shadow. And then in the leg here, it's not going to match perfectly, so I'm not going to keep on going. Now, let me turn my background off so you can see. All right, that's what we've painted out. Now what we're going to do is click on this layer mask, the one that we made ourselves disappear, and we're going to press Control-I to invert the mask, and then she just pops back in there. That's it. Plain and simple. Easy peasy, right? All right, so we got that one in there. Again, you can see the color is a little different. This picture is a little bit darker. So if that bothers me at all, I could do a little bit of a levels adjustment. It doesn't really bother me. I don't think you would know, like, unless you know, but I could go in there and paint out some of that with a black brush now just to fix that a little bit if it bothered me. But if it doesn't bother you, don't worry about it, right? I'm missing a little bit of my hand, so let's paint back in the hand. And, just make sure you touch up any parts that are missing. There is a foot down here, but this picture ends, so there's nothing to paint down there. So you want to turn off, make sure that every part that goes with your person is in there really good. All right, we're good. Now let's repeat the process. Next layer, turn the eyeball on, add the layer mask, black, because we're going to paint out. There we go. Look for shadows. Make sure you get the shadows. I really lucked out because this particular day, there's really not any shadows to deal with. Don't go over into the table because the table's not part of my person and you don't want to get too much extra in there, but you want that soft brush so that it all blends. Okay, looks good. And then click here, Control I. Bam, she's done. Turn off background, look at it, make sure that I'm not missing any parts. I don't think I am. All right, we're good to go. Then finally we have the last one. That's this gal over here. Add the layer mask, black paintbrush, paint out. I do see a shadow on the ground here, so I'm going to kind of pop in here a little bit. All right, I think we're good. I don't know if there was anything in the window, but I don't think so. All right, click it, Control I, and bam, there we are. Again, turn off the layer, make sure you're not missing a foot, you know, or oops, got to flip my colors here, or anything like that. You know, if you notice something wrong, just kind of paint it in here. There we go. That's it, folks. Literally, at this point, you're going to crop because we don't want all the excess on there. So take your crop tool and just drag around what it is that you want to keep. And then you're good. Export it out and call it a day. Easy, easy, easy project. So good luck, and I hope to see some cool stuff.